That's right. First.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house.
Hey guys.
Than the doubt we've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the
I guess that's it. What's up? What's up?
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird, and this is a Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. I'm Will Bird, the host of the Cold Beer Confessional. A former Trump supporter years ago, and now couldn't be more sick of the man. Thank you all for joining us. If you want to support the show, go to coldbeer.fund, coldbeer.fund, where you can help support the show to keep it going. That's how we pay the bills around here. So if you're interested, go to coldbeer.fund, coldbeer.fund instead of .com, or use one of the bits, super chats, whatever. Thank you guys for joining us. What's up? How's everybody doing? End of the weekend, I guess. Everybody getting ready to go back to work tomorrow. Yeah, so many wild things are going on. For some reason, all of the bot accounts on Twitter right now are saying that Doge confirmed that the Clinton Foundation was given $84 billion or some shit from USAID. And very specifically, they're saying that line item number 3, wherever that comes from, was $3 million for Chelsea Clinton's wedding. It's all these weird accounts. Hold on, I'll show you. It's all these weird accounts. Let me show you. Doge, Chelsea Clinton. And Cat Turd just picked it up and retweeted it. But it's not like the actual, like Fuck Around and Find Out Planet, right? There's one. Alma Gentil, whatever the fuck that is. Not Tucker Carlson, but Tucker Carlson News. Hey, what's up, Corn Diff? Tucker Carlson News. You'll see that a lot, all right? So not Tucker Carlson, but Tucker Carlson News. Then we have Doge News, Department of Government Efficiency. Then we have J.D. Vance News, not J.D. Vance's main account, but an account close enough to where when you're reading through this, you think, oh, J.D. Vance said that? No, J.D. Vance News. Johnny Midnight, whatever the fuck this is. I don't even try to read these names. C3, J.D. Vance News again. Rock on Ohio, Johnny Midnight again. Charlie Kirk, not his account, but Charlie Kirk commentary. Lex Litzen, fan J.D. Vance. Deanna, the popular the People Unifier. Sorry, Mia Joy. This is what they're saying. Okay. Doge this is the retweet that all of them are using, or most of them. And then other things saying that should Doge audit the Clinton Foundation or Chelsea Clinton or Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or whatever. Okay, listen. This is the one that I've been seeing all day today. Doge for the win. Confirmed, Doge says USAID gave Chelsea Clinton $84 million, which is supposed to go to relief in Haiti. Line items show $3 million of the $84 million was spent on Chelsea Clinton's wedding. And, wait for it, $10 million to purchase a luxury mansion all on our dime. Now, none of this is true. I think his account is Cat Turd too. None of this is true. It's very weird that they all come out at the same time, isn't it? And then the Cat Turd thing was basically, heads up, your money's being spent for Chelsea Clinton's wedding or something like your hard-earned tax dollars, Chelsea Clinton wedding. It's very weird. it's very weird when they all come out at the same time. Like, what narrative are they trying to push? This, again, he's retweeting something called Charlie Kirk commentary. This is not, and it's at Charlie Kirk News. So this is not Charlie Kirk's channel, but they know people will see that and associate it with Charlie Kirk as if it has, Charlie Kirk has no validity to begin with. But some people believe him and they see that name and they think it has something to do with him. It's at Charlie K_news and it's called Charlie Kirk commentary. And Cat Turd is retweeting it, says infuriating. It says George Soros received $260 million from USAID. USAID. Chelsea Clinton received $84 million from USAID. Thousands of North Carolinians are living in tents and it's snowing on blah, blah, blah. This is from 4 hours ago. And it's snowing on them. They got 750. Democrats are perfectly fine with this. It's not snowing. I live in East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, right? It's not snowing here. And the 750, again, was just to get you over the hump until you could get more aid. It's very weird when they all come out together and start tweeting the same thing over and over again. Right now, the MAGA idiots are, this is actually a very funny video. You guys seen this? Hold on. Have you guys seen this or no? Let me get you some audio.
Finally push one through Sterling. Brown Sterling.
Hits him in the face, knocks him out.
Straight to the man.
Hits him in the face, knocks him out. It just keeps hitting the one guy that's knocked out in the face. I know you can't. Let's do this. It just hits the one guy in the face over and over again. And at one point, they pick him up and hold him up and use him to hit the ball.
His teammates help him to his feet. No! They raise him up.
Boom. And the announcer seems so serious. It's obviously a fake video, but it's funny, if nothing else.
With the face of a devil. Look at this replay. One is the
Boom.
number. Two tickets
Boom.
to paradise. Three times the lady. Forever young. As the crowd shows.
Anyways, it's very weird. They have a problem right now with polling, okay? So they want to say that Democrats have the lowest approval rating, blah, 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 20% or something. But that exact same poll has Donald Trump with the lowest approval rating of any president in the first 100 days in 70 fucking years. Somebody even tried to fact check me with Grok. It says Trump's 100-day approval rating in 2025 is around 41% per polls like Quinnipiac, matching his first term's 41% in 2017. This is the lowest since Eisenhower with historical averages at 62. Polls vary from 40 to 50%, but confirm a historically low rating likely tied to policies like tariffs. Ratings can shift, so this early snapshot doesn't predict long-term trends. So they want to say that this brand new poll that come out like this, fake polls from fake news doesn't fool anyone anymore, right? So Trump's numbers are down very badly. Since Eisenhower, no other president has had this low of approval rating at their first 100 days, okay? Since Eisenhower. Also, they want to throw it in your face that the same exact poll has Democrats polling low for approval. And Democrats have it twofold. So the people that went in, that broke rank, and independents that voted for Trump and are still supporting Trump, they're down on Democrats because it looks like Democrats aren't helping Trump. And actual Democrats who fucking hate Trump are like, why aren't they doing more? Why aren't they fucking stopping him? Why aren't they doing anything? The Democrats in the polls, I'll admit, are getting fucked in the polls. But that has nothing to do with Trump's fucking lowest approval rating in 70 since fucking Eisenhower. That's insane. We also had this jewel that just popped up. It was pretty good. Let's see here. Oh, Scott Sterling. Is that it? Is that the full video, Austin? Hold on. It'd be easier to show it on here than it was on.
Back to our coverage of the game of the year between Yale and
Scott Sterling. This is it. This is that video I was just showing you. It's just a funny video.
If you're just
You'll be able to see it better here.
unbelievably well-fought match tonight, and it's come down to penalty kicks.
Oh, this is the soccer one. So this is the same video. It's the same guy, Scott Sterling, but this is the soccer one instead of the volleyball. Thank you, Austin.
Yale taking the first approach.
Spectacular! North Carolina.
Perfect.
Keep Richards just left one in past him now. So now the burden rests on Yale's Scott Sterling.
Here he comes.
Scott Sterling. Here he comes, baby.
More pressure now than a submarine.
Indeed.
Home crowd showing some
It's the
appreciation.
same guy from the volleyball video.
Places the ball on the spot, getting ready. That man literally has a cannon for a leg.
Yes, he does.
Here he goes, winding up for the shot, and oh!
Right in the face.
Has fired and hit Sterling directly to the face.
We clocked that.
So he's unconscious now.
116
Knocked out.
kilometers per hour.
Now that's a lot of miles per hour.
Little chance that man's nose is not broken right now.
Oh, indeed. Now
Love his eyes are black.
that one spectacular save though, but sadly he's not out of the woods yet.
On his feet now, a bit shaken.
But not stirred.
This crowd absolutely loves this man.
And Sterling's teammates welcome him back a hero for now.
I know, back to the other team.
Looking to make it 2-0.
He approaches the ball with some determination. Here he goes.
Oh,
Oh!
it's high and wide, way off target.
Yes, apparently he thought he was kicking a field goal.
Wrong kind of football, I'd say.
Good show.
Back now to Scott Sterling. He looks
All right, back to Scott Sterling.
well, but ready for round 2.
And Shaw takes a moment. Here he goes.
They make it so realistic, too.
With a fantastic dive. The ball
Like showing the crowd and shit.
strikes him straight in the schnoz.
And let's see it again on the old instant replay. Oh, every excruciating detail captured in HD perfection.
129 kilometers per hour. Sterling does not look well.
He
Two
doesn't even check him this time.
definite concussions.
They may replace him at this point. He's done all he can.
Yes, as his trainer takes him off the field like a mustached lion dragging a gazelle through the Serengeti.
Like a mustache lion.
Adieu, Scott Sterling. Adieu. Yale now with their third PK. Richard
Yale.
bouncing like an infant girl.
The crowd holds their breath as he goes in. Here it comes. Oh, very anticlimactic.
Let's see who they got to replace Scott. Scott
Sterling is back.
He's back.
Oh my!
Scott Sterling is back. He's like in the fetal position.
Very odd tactic now.
Seems to be curling up to protect his face.
Not exactly a recommended technique, but here it goes. Wait, no, Lambert needs to tie his shoe. Oh, and that's why you do a double knot, kids.
Sterling still waiting for the kick to happen. He's probably wondering when. Oh! Sweet butter crumpet! The ball drills Sterling right in the face.
That man's nose must be absolutely devastated. He's going to look like a witch that blew her broom into her nose and then crashed into a
I
hammer.
hardly even care about this attempt. Let's go back to Scott
Sterling, the man, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend, Scott Sterling.
3 perfect blocks by Sterling and his cat-like face reflexes.
Absolutely incredible. Though I
He
must
just
say,
passes out on the ground.
Well, you know football players like to have a bit of drama, don't they?
They're gonna take him out. No, wait! They brought him a chair.
Oh, a bold move by the
They brought him a chair.
for the 4th attempt.
This, frankly, is a gimme. He literally just has to kick it anywhere except where Sterling is sitting.
There is no possible way that North Carolina can mess up this shot. Oh! 158 kilometers per
Scott Sterling.
Man can do no wrong.
Look at him beg for mercy. When it's mercy, that should be begging for him.
He has looked death in the eye and said, take your best shot, to which Death replies by punching him in the face over and over and over again.
If Yale makes this final shot, it's all over. But no! Oh, he misses, which means we're going to Scott Sterling.
His face is like a brick wall.
That can feel pain and cries a lot.
Where's Sterling?
Where's he at?
He seems to be
He's crawling away.
He's throwing away the bat. Oh! Sterling has done the impossible.
Look at that! He made it just right! What incredible instinct to crawl away from the goal like that!
And his teammates rush the field, happy as a lark as they slide in.
A Bernini sculpture of a finish.
As his teammates carry him off on the stretcher of glory, we thank you for sharing this absolutely heart-stopping finish.
Scott Sterling and his face of steel have won it all.
His face is still. That's a very funny video set. Thank you for sending that in. I haven't seen that in years, dude. That was an old fucking like meme video. This is the video I said that just I don't know how I get suggested these videos. I'd like to take credit for it, but my For You page is fucked, dude. I click on too many weird shit, fucked up shit. Like I shouldn't be doing it, right? I should just move the fuck along because then I get shit like this on my For You page. Well, actually, this one's the Facebook link, but still, it's bad.
It hurts. Of course it.
All right. That guy's got an arrow. That's a preacher. And he's got an arrow with fletching on it. Okay? What could he possibly do with an arrow with fletching on it? You're about to see.
Of course it hurts.
That's a stick in his other hand. Arrow and a stick.
Of course it's fire. Of course it's pain. Of course it's that's hot. That's hot. Gosh, just shut up. I can handle it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Oh God, that hurts. Oh God, I'm so tired. Oh God, I didn't want to lose her. Oh God, I didn't want to have that pain. Oh God, no. Oh. God, you love me so much, don't you? Yes. Oh, God, thank you for what you're making me. You're welcome.
Are you telling me he didn't know what he was doing? Like, he literally puts it in his crotch.
Of course it hurts.
We'll watch it again. I have no idea what this is.
Of course it's... That's hot! That's hot! God, just shut up. I can handle it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Oh, God, that hurts. Oh, God, I'm so tired. Oh, God, I didn't want to lose her. Oh, God, I didn't want to have that pain. Oh, God, no. Oh. God, you love me so much, don't you? Yes. Oh, God, thank you for what you're making me. You're welcome.
Apparently, I haven't seen it, but my Discord did. Apparently, someone brought up Bert. Apparently, Bert shared a bunch of photos of himself. Allegedly, Bert shared a bunch of photos of himself. Let me see if I can find them. I saw them the other day. Like this one. Sorry. I wasn't expecting. It's like a jump scare. That is something special, dude. There he is. Is that a real widow's peak? Is that a real widow's peak, dude? I've never seen one that bad. Like, I had a widow's peak when I was like little, but it was just like barely a point, right? The fuck's he do? Glue it on? If it's not real, where the fuck? Here's part of his 11 months in the service, allegedly. His hair is a little... Oh, so you think his curl is like just down. And then I'm not saying what Bert did to get kicked off all the cruise lines. I'm not going to say. Okay? I won't say what Bert did to get kicked off all the cruises. But I will show you this image, and you tell me what you think Bert was doing to get kicked off every cruise line. All at once. You can guess. I'm assuming it had something to do with this Asian man here. Asian Pacific Islander man. Whatever you think, guys. I don't know. Did I play you guys the video from Debunction Junction or not? I think it's this one.
All right, so I just want to start off by saying this is the second most recent video on Charlie Kirk's official TikTok page that has 6.4 million followers. Now let's go ahead and watch this video, and then I'll be back in 1 second.
In the woman's long jump, a biological male just broke the state record by 8 feet in a long jump in the woman's category.
This is a lie. This is absolutely not true. Could you imagine the news headline that there would be if the long jump was not long jump record was not just broken, it was broken by 8 fucking feet? 8 feet. That's more than a whole fucking human. 8 feet.
In this, the individual's name is A.B. Hernandez.
All right, that sounds pretty sensational there from Charlie Kirk. But what if I told you that out of those 4 facts, the only one that he got right is he is talking about someone named A.B. Hernandez. But I'm going to go ahead and play his audio and lay out all of his facts because I'm going to debunk them one by one.
In the woman's long
By
jump.
the way, this is an awesome name for a channel. The Debunction Junction is amazing. He gets this from a New York Post article, and even it says the triple jump. But breaking a record by 8 feet just didn't happen.
A biological male just broke the state record by 8 feet in a long jump in the woman's category. In this, the individual's name is A.B. Hernandez.
All right, so if we're believing Charlie, we're looking for this person who set a state record in the women's long jump by 8 feet. So step 1.
Why would 8 feet, if that was true, why would it not be such a big deal when you're talking about the triple jump?
Is finding out who this person is and what state they compete in. All right, so one short Google search later, and we're at this person's track and field page.
Why did he have to lie and say it was the long jump? I don't even understand that lie.
Compete in California, and if we go down here, they do compete in the long jump, and their best jump is 20 feet 1.5 inches that was done on March 19th, 2025. So if they broke this record by 8 feet, that means the former record was about 12 feet. So let's dig into what the actual record for the long jump is in California. All right, so as you can see here, this is the track and field program that they gave
Like he could have still made the lie and just got the actual sport right.
out for the 2024 state championships. So let's scroll down and see the all-time records. And here we are at the girls' California all-time records. If we go down here to long jump, you're going to see that the record is actually 22 feet 1/2 inch by Marion Jones, and the record
So nowhere close to the record. The record was set in 1993 by a biological female. So nowhere close to the record.
was set 32 years ago. So 32 years ago, a biological female jumped 2 feet further than A.B. Hernandez. So what is Charlie Kirk talking about? And if we dig a little deeper, you can see that this is where Charlie Kirk's getting his 8 feet trans high school track star. But you know what? It's
There you go. Triple jump.
the triple jump, and it's not a state record. It was done at the Ontario Relays International meet back on February 22nd. All right, so we're back at A.B. Hernandez.
Again, okay. Here's the question. Let's say this person is trans, and let's say that they did compete and they won by 8 feet. Not set a record, but let's say they won by 8 feet. Why did we have biological women in 1993 beating them by a couple feet then?
Is his page, but let's go down to the triple jump instead, and you can see that Ontario Relays one is 40 feet 1/2 inches, but you can see there's a better jump here of 41.3. Where does that fit in the all-time girls high school record? Well, here's that record right here. As you
44 feet
can see, it's 44 feet 1/2 inches, and that was
from 1991.
set back in 1991, 34 years ago. A biological female jumped 3 feet further than A.B. Hernandez. And so if we check back in here, we can see that he was mistaken. It wasn't the long jump, it was the triple jump.
It looks like the world record is 60 fucking feet for men and 51 feet for women. Holy shit.
But it wasn't near a state record in either the long jump or the triple jump, and the idea that A.B. Hernandez broke a state record by 8 feet is just pure fiction. And by the way, none of this means that Charlie Kirk can't have an opinion about trans women competing in sports.
Sure.
But what it does mean is that if he's not getting his facts straight on something as basic as this, and he's going sensational on it,
That's the problem with it. So you remember in school when you used to do like cram sessions before like a test? You just like cram as much information as you could. That's what he does to prepare for these debates. I know because it's what Steven Crowder did. Steven Crowder did it even worse because it would only be on a certain topic, like the change my mind thing. It would only be on like abortion, or it would only be on women's rights, or it would only be on whatever. And he would just cram all that. Now, Charlie Kirk has set himself up for a little bit harder, but he just crams shit that has anything to do with hot button issues right now and just regurgitates it. But half the time it's just fucking wrong but he says it with authority. The crowd cheers, and no one cares, right? No one fucking cares. Let's see what these other videos are from Debunction Junction. I love when he does Elder Millennial.
That's right. This guy's back at it again. So let's let him talk, and then I'll be back in 1 second.
I just wanted to point something out for all the people that think this way, because
Oh, I pointed this out too. That's before the tariffs went into effect, you fucking...
what's happening right now.
All right, so first off, let's establish that when he says this is what's going on right now, he's showing a chart where the Dow is at 42,225, and I am recording this video on Sunday, which means 1 day ago he uploaded this on Saturday. So was the Dow at 42,225 then? Nope. The Dow is currently at 38,300.
Weird he would share a screenshot of the market the day before the tariffs went into effect, no?
So all you folks are worried about
Liberation Day stock market. Tell that to the stock market and the tons of money he just cost Americans. Wait for it. Here we go.
So all you folks are worried about the stock market. Why don't y'all just sit back?
Oh, we covered this lady once. I don't know if you remember this, but she works at a bank, and she claims that people only work a job right up to the maximum limit to get a child tax credit, then quit their job and refuse to work anymore because they know it'll mess up their child tax credit. Remember that video we did? And we tried to figure out how much money that was?
For the next few days and see what's happening. Because all these countries that are already backing out, that's going to make a difference in the stock market. It's going to get it back plus some after the next few days.
So Trump said that he had deals with 200 plus countries. Have you guys seen that video?
6 days later.
I don't care if the stock market went down. I keep sharing with y'all my 401k goes high. I don't care if it does go down. It is what it is because I still believe in what Donald Trump is doing. So all you folks are worried.
Have you seen the video where he claims he has deals with 200 countries? Well, some of his administration, he just blurts this out. We have deals with 200 countries. It'll be over soon. He just blurts this out for some reason. Well, then when some of his administration is confronted with this, let me see if I can find a video on it. I know it exists because I've already seen it, but I didn't save it. I think I might have saw it on Twitter. Here's the 200 trade deals. Is that it right there? Here.
The Time interview with President Trump. He said that he has made 200 deals on.
He says, when they're asking him, like, what about these tariffs? How long are they going to last? What's going to happen? Is this going to cost Americans? He says he's made 200 deals. Okay? What do you think? That's almost every country. That's almost every country. Right? That's almost all of them. What do you think he really means? We're about to find out.
Tariffs. 200 deals? Who has he made deals with? Is there actually any deal at this point?
I believe that he is referring to sub-deals within the negotiations we're doing. And
he's referring to sub-deals? So basically, everything you talk to a country about to make the overall trade deal, every line item is a sub-deal. So 200 deals that he's saying we've made 200 deals could literally not even be one trade agreement with one fucking country. Is that where we're at here? He made sub-deals?
Sub-deals within the negotiations we're doing. And Martha, if there are 180...
But those aren't actual deals.
Martha, if there are 180 countries, there are 18 important trading...
I've got it pulled up already, Kev. I've already seen it and some of the wackiness. You guys want to read the 100 Days interview from Time Magazine with Trump?
If there are 180
But those aren't actual deals.
Martha, if there are 180 countries, there are 18 important trading partners. Let's put
Actual deals.
Martha, if there are 180 countries,
180 countries,
there are 18 important trading partners. Let's
18 important partners.
put China to the side because
Forget about China.
that's a special negotiation. There's 17 important trading partners, and we have a process in place over
So really 17 partners.
the next 90 days to negotiate with them. Some of those are moving along very well, especially with the Asian countries.
Literally 200 sub deals might not even be one fucking country's trade agreement. We've saw all the things you talk about. I mean, there's oil and there's raw materials, there's steel, there's aluminum, there's gas, there's refined materials, there's phones, there's technology, there's dairy, there's meat, there's 200 sub deals. May not even be one fucking country. So Trump did this. There's some wild shit in here. Trump did his 100 days interview with Time magazine. And it reads like, get fucking Joe Biden out of here. It reads like the Democrats want you to think Joe Biden was. Or the Republicans want you to think Joe Biden was. Not to mention, the motherfucker, I forgot to show that. Hold on, let me show this first. You guys know Libs of TikTok account, the Jewish lady that like just lies all the time. Let me show you something that all these accounts are sharing. So, there was a piece in Salon, I think, or Slate, or one of those, that basically says everybody from the or going to the Pope's funeral was asked to wear a black suit. Trump wore blue. Now, they're not saying only Trump wore blue. There were other people that wore blue. Most of them a lot darker than Trump. Right? Most of them a lot darker color than Trump. But Trump wore like this royal blue. And this has made headlines. Right? A lot of people talking about it. A lot of people talking about how he should have wore black. But, you know, it was probably just because somebody told him what to do that he does the exact opposite. He's weird like that. Who knows? But they want to tell you. Here it is. Here's the headlines. The Vatican asked Pope Francis funeral. Oh, it's Fortune. Funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. Trump's blue suit at the Pope's funeral draws attention. Melania Trump wears black veil. That was another thing. They asked the women to wear veils. They wanted you to wear a black suit, a black tie, and a black pin. Trump didn't. He wore his bright blue suit. Trump accused of Pope Francis funeral faux pas after breaking dress code, then leaving early. He also fell asleep during the middle of it, and his supporters are trying to say that he was praying during the middle of it, but his mouth fell open, and he was basically just drooling, okay? So then a photo comes out, okay? A photo comes out, and they're like, look at all the people wearing blue. Look at all of them. It's not just Trump. Well, first of all, who's in the brightest fucking blue? Even in this photo, okay? Even in this photo, Trump is clearly in the brightest blue, okay? But I got to look in this photo, and this is something that I wouldn't bring up. Like, okay, yeah, it's probably, like, you probably shouldn't do that, whatever. This is not something that I would bring up. But somebody did, right? So Trump is in this bright blue with a bright blue tie. But I got to look at this photo, and I saw a photo of Biden that day. Why do they have Biden up here in blue? You can't see it right now. Hold on. Biden wasn't in blue. Why would Biden be right here in blue? See him? See Biden? Why is Biden in blue? Because Biden wasn't in blue. Because They literally took the photo. First of all, they're like, nobody cares. Who cares? I'm glad the Pope's dead. He can wear whatever he wants. I can't believe people are upset that he wore this. They took this photo and edited it because I've went through every fucking source, and here's the actual photo. This is the actual photo. Versus this photo. See how much more blue they put in everything? Yes, there are people wearing blue. Like one of the princes wore like a real dark a navy blue. There are people wearing blue. I'm not saying Trump was the only person wearing blue. But they took this photo and upped the fucking contrast and put as much blue into it as possible. To just fucking lie and be like everybody was wearing blue, including Joe Biden. And you can look up Joe Biden's photo. Hold on. Joe Biden wore black as black fucking gets. Okay? Even people were reporting that he shouldn't have wore a blue tie. But he wore as black fucking gets. Right? But when you see this edited photo, here, they got Joe Biden in blue. Right there. That's clearly blue. But this is what he was actually wearing. They went through because they couldn't stand Trump being like called out like this. They went through and edited this photo, and then they all shared it, including, the libs of TikTok. The Hodge twins is where I first saw it. The Hodge twins. Debunked. Fake news media. Can't do that. Fake news media is lying to you. New hoax just dropped. Trump broke the rules and stood out by wearing a blue suit to Pope Francis' funeral. Here's the reality. What the fuck? Like, it's such a small thing. If you want to say, who cares? I'm with you. Who gives a fuck? Right? We're laughed at for much more than Trump wearing a royal blue suit to a funeral. Okay? And Melania wore the black and the black veil like she was supposed to. Who cares? If that's the stance we want to take, I'm all for it. Who gives a fuck? Right? It's not my Pope. I could care less what the fuck he wore. At least he showed up in a suit. But if we're going to start editing other people to say, no, everybody wore blue. Look at all the people in blue. That's just wild at this point. Not to mention, I'm glad I clicked on Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok is literally riding the shit out of the female officer that flew the Black Hawk. Wait till you see some of these posts. You know, the Black Hawk helicopter crash. Like, she's dead now, and there's nobody to take up for her. And this is what these disgusting motherfuckers who call themselves patriots are doing. If I can get past all these fucking reposts. Female pilot of the Black Hawk, which crashed into a plane, killing 67 people in D.C., was instructed by her co-pilot to change course moments before she crashed and ignored. New from New York Times, female co-pilot of the Black Hawk who crashed into the plane, killing 67 people in D.C., was instructed by her co-pilot to change course moments before the crash and ignored. Reposting themselves. I don't understand the obsession with the pilot flying the Black Hawk. You're a woman. No. It was only 67 people. We have 360 million in America. What's the big deal? According to the New York Times, female pilot was given multiple warnings and was directly told by her male instructor, co-pilot, to turn the opposite direction of the passenger jet to avoid the collision. She didn't listen. Not only was the Black Hawk flying too high, but in the final seconds before the crash, its female pilot failed to heed a directive from her co-pilot and Army flight instructor to change course. You wouldn't believe all the comments about DEI and women shouldn't serve, and this is why they shouldn't vote, and this is blah, 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 blah. all this shit. You want to know what actually happened? The tower calls in and says, okay, just make sure you see that traffic. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I want you to pass behind them. And they say, and they ask for visual separation again. And he says, Viz Sep approved. Visual separation approved. And the guy says, I think he wants you to go behind that jet. But still, they were all looking at the wrong fucking airplane. It doesn't have anything to do with being a man or being DEI or being this or that. They were all looking at the wrong airplane. Because that other pilot has controls too. Even though he's a manly man, if they really thought they were going to hit head on, he would have just pulled the fucking stick. Are you shitting me? Even if they'd have been, you're not supposed to do that, right? You're supposed to say, I'm taking controls, and they say, okay, controls are yours. But if you're going to hit something, he would have grabbed the fucking controls, right? He's not trying to die and kill a bunch of other people. All he said is, I think what he means is we're supposed to pass behind that inbound. Yeah. That would have been to the left. I think he even says the inbound to your left. The instructor was career afraid to take control or be forceful. He knew that if he did so, that would hurt her rating, and she was a known White House privileged person. His career would have been over. The New York Times article about the January D.C. plane crash buries the real takeaway until the very end. The female helicopter pilot ignored repeated altitude warnings from her co-pilot, even after he directly told her to turn, and flew straight into a passenger plane. Are you shitting me? So because she's a woman and she's so dumb, the other pilot knew they were going to hit head on into an airplane, and he was just like, gotta let a woman do a woman. Yes, they did have discrepancy with her altitude, where he told her to lower her altitude, and it seems like she didn't, but her altimeter was off comparatively. And yes, he did say, like, hey, we're going to have to go left behind that inbound, but they were looking at the wrong fucking plane. Here's the article they're talking about. The Black Hawk was 15 seconds away from crossing paths with the jet. Warrant Officer Eves then turned his attention to Captain LeBach. He told her he believed that air traffic control wanted them to turn left towards the east riverbank. Turning left would have opened up more space between the helicopter and flight 5342, which is heading for runway 33 at an altitude of roughly 300 feet. She did not turn left. I'm telling you, if the man in the seat beside her thought they were going to hit a plane, if they saw it, if they knew what was happening was wrong, they're going to pull the fucking stick. Guaranteed. You're telling me that we have a fucking lead pilot in a Black Hawk who's so afraid of offending a woman, he would rather fucking die and kill an unknown amount of people on a passenger plane than say, I'm taking controls, or just pull the fucking stick. You're fucking stupid. But they are hounding this woman so fucking hard about it. I don't know. It's wild. It's wild the way they're talking about her. And Libs of TikTok is a woman. I know somebody put that in the chat. She is a woman.
Lawn, selling Teslas while the press looks on. Everything is computer, he says with a grin, slashing and cutting more.
God, I love that song. Anyways, we got to go back to the Times article. I got sidetracked. Reporter. Obviously, a lot has happened. We want to have a conversation about what your first 100 days have looked like in office. And we want to try to touch on as many different points as we can. Trump. There's a lot, right? A lot of things have happened. You know better than reporter. You know better than anyone that the president of the United States is the most powerful person in the world. At the same time, it seems like you are expanding the power of the presidency. Why do you think you need more power? Trump. Well, I don't feel I'm expanding it. I think I'm using it as it was meant to be used. I feel that we've had a very successful presidency in 100 days. We've had people writing it was the best first month and the best second month and really the best third month. So people are just writing it's the best month ever, every month. But that you won't know about for a little while because it takes a little time in transition. You know, we're resetting the table. We were losing $2 trillion a year on trade, and you can't do that. I mean, at some point, somebody has to come along and stop it because it's not sustainable. We were carrying other countries on our back with, you know, with trade numbers, with horrible numbers, and we've changed it. You see, the market fluctuates quite a bit. Today, it's up 1,000 or 1,200 points. It goes up and down, but that will steady out, and we're taking in tremendous amounts of money. We have, as you know, already 25% on cars, 25% on steel and aluminum. Yeah, I just don't fucking believe you. Mr. President, I think we're driving at what we're driving at is that you've taken congressional authority on trade and appropriations. You've fired the heads of independent agencies. You're challenging the courts right now, as you know. You're using the levers of government to weaken private institutions like law firms and universities. Isn't this seizing power away from institutions and concentrating them inside the presidency? No. I think that what I'm doing is exactly what I've campaigned on. But imagine this. Imagine he campaigned on putting all of Congress in front of a firing squad and becoming a dictator. You still can't fucking do that. You also campaigned on ending the war within 24 hours of being elected. Not president, elected. If you look at what I campaigned on, for instance, you can talk about removing people from the country. We have to do it because Biden allowed people to come in through his open border crazy insanity. He allowed people to come into our country that we can't have in our country. Many criminals. They emptied their prisons. Many countries, almost every country, but not a complete emptying, but some countries a complete emptying of their prison system. But you look all over the world, and I'm not just talking about South America. We're talking about all over the world. People have been led into our country that are very dangerous. If you were walking down the street, and if you happen to be near one of these people, they would kill you. And they wouldn't even think about it. And we can't have that in our country. Then why aren't they doing it? So you're not concentrating more power in the presidency. I don't think so. I think I'm using it properly. And I'm also using it as per my election. As per my election. You know, everything that I'm doing, this is what I talked about doing. I said that I'm going to move the criminals out. I saw what was happening early on when I heard that he had open borders. Because it was hard thing to believe. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and then he didn't want to, and we had an extra 100 miles that I could have put up because I ordered it as extra. I completed the wall. Lie. What I was doing, but I wanted to build additional because it was working so well. So he didn't complete a wall. If you completed a wall, why would you order extra, and why would you say I was going to complete it? Obviously not. It was working so well. An extension. And he didn't want to do that. See, they have to bounce between this. Biden sold off all the wall we were going to put up, and I completed the wall. Because he's always said that he completed the wall, but they're also mad that Biden sold the wall that was just sitting around for years and years and years. They have to bounce back and forth of that and try to make it make sense, okay? So now it's an extension he was going to put up, but he completed it. This is an extension. And he didn't want to do that. And when he said he wasn't going to do that, I said, well, he must want open borders. There were sections that were being built, and he stopped to work on it. And I said, this guy actually wants to have open borders. That's going to be a tragedy for our country. That's going to mean that other countries will release into our country some very rough people. Before Trump's first term, and most of Trump's first term, there was no wall. But he doesn't contend that he had open borders then. The reporter says, we'd love to come back to immigration, but maybe start with the economy. Obviously, an issue you campaigned on as well. You promised that you would immediately bring down prices and usher in a golden age of America. The prices of gas and eggs have gone down, but the cost of other things remain. And he cuts them off. It says, the prices of groceries have gone down. The only price that hasn't gone down is the price of energy. The cost of energy, I'm sorry. Well, energy has gone down, excuse me. Let me change that, is the interest rates. And interest rates have essentially stayed the same. But almost every other thing, I mean, you take a look at what's going on, and this is, we're taking in billions of dollars of tariffs, by the way. And just to go back to the past, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs from China. And then when COVID came, I couldn't institute the full program, but I took in hundreds of billions of dollars and we had no inflation. Everybody get that whole answer? The answer was the price of eggs, or the question was, they got cut off. The price of eggs, gas and eggs have gone down, but the cost of others remain. And he cuts in with this. The price of groceries have gone down. The only price that hasn't gone down is the price of energy. The cost of energy. I'm sorry. Well, energy has gone down. Excuse me. Let me change that. Is the interest rates. And interest rates have essentially stayed the same. But almost every other thing, I mean, you take a look at what's going on, and this is, we're taking in billions of dollars of tariffs, by the way. And just to go back to the past, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs from China. And then when COVID came, I couldn't institute the full program, but I took in hundreds of billions and we had no inflation. Reporter, but let's focus on what is happening right now because, cut off again. We took in billions of dollars. We had no inflation. Now, if you take a look, the price of groceries are down. The price of energy is down. Inflation remains pretty much the same. And the IMF is saying it's going to go up. No, Eric, you can't say what they think because so far what I thought is right, I've been right about. Reporter, 401ks are down. The Atlanta Fed says our economy is contracting, negative 2.2% during one quarter. Trump. Well, they may have said that, but so far I've been right. If you look at all the years that I've been doing this, I've been right on things. You're gonna have the wealthiest country we've ever had, and you're gonna have an explosion upward in the not too distant future. You know, I've been here now for 3 months. And I inherited eggs. I inherited groceries. I inherited energy. It was all going through the roof. And we had the highest inflation we've ever had as a country, or very close to it, not even close. And I believe it was the highest ever. Somebody said it's the highest in only 48 years. That's a lot too. But I believe we had the highest inflation we've ever had. I've been here now for 3 months, and 3 months we are taking in billions and billions of dollars from other countries that we never took in before, and that's just the start. Again, the highest inflation occurred 24% in 1920. Okay? Not even close. Not even close. Hold on, I'm looking at ratings right now. 7% was our highest. That was in 2021, right after COVID-19 pandemic. It wasn't great even when Russia invaded Ukraine. But 7%. $1990 was 6.1% for full-blown recession. 1981 was 8.9%. For the Reagan tax cut. 1980 was 12.5% into a recession. 1979 was 13%. 1978 was 9%. 1977 was 6.7%. Like, not even close to the highest inflation ever. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Well, so the reporter is basically like, okay, all the fuck he wants to talk about is tariffs. So let's just talk about tariffs then. Because the last question was about 401ks and the economy contracting. And all he's talked about was tariffs. So the reporter says, well, let's talk about tariffs. You want companies to build and make goods here in America. Not in all cases. There are some products I really don't want to make here. The reporter says, like t-shirts. Trump says, I can give you a list because I actually have a list. But if you want, I could give it to you. Well, I mean, the question is, how many CEOs make long-term plans and investments if our tariff policy can change from day to day and still remains so uncertain? Trump. How can they make long-term investments? I'll turn it around. How can they make long-term investments if our country is losing $2 trillion a year on trade? Again, he doesn't understand that a trade deficit is not like tied to like bad trade policy, okay? The reporter says, will you consider giving exemptions? Cut off again. No, wait. Just so you understand, how can we sustain and how is it sustainable that our country lost almost $2 trillion on trade in Biden years in this last year? That's not, when you talk about a company, I had the head of Walmart yesterday right in that seat. I had the head of Walmart. I had the head of Home Depot. I had the head of Target in my office. And I tell you what they think. They think what I'm doing is exactly right. Now, Trump has this issue that no matter what you say to him, if you're not overtly like mean to like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit, blah, blah, he thinks you're agreeing with him. Right? We saw this again and again and again when he had COVID press conferences where they're like, no, we're not going to inject a lot. And he's like, everybody thinks it's a good idea. I have the best ideas, right? So I don't know what they said to him, but I guarantee you it wasn't just, you're the greatest. We think everything you're doing is amazing and you're really helping us, obviously. Well, the reporter says, well, the CEOs of small businesses are saying they may not be able to last another 2 months with current regime in place. Will you consider giving a small business an exemption similar to what you're giving to big tech? Now, again, Apple and big tech gets all these exemptions, but there are literally businesses on TikTok that are fucking just dying. This one woman makes this, it's like a placemat for babies that has suction cups on it. So you stick it to your table, car seat, whatever, and a high chair, a car seat, whatever. Anything that has a tray or a table in front of it. And it also has attachments for like their spoon and stuff to where they can fall, but they don't hit the ground. Baby can pull it back up or you can pull it back up with them. She cannot find a manufacturer in the U.S. She's been trying, even before the tariffs. She cannot find a manufacturer in the United States. If she could find a manufacturer, they want her to order at least 500,000 pieces. And they told her it would be like, I think like $30,000 or $40,000 just to get her molds made. Well, where now she's able to order a minimum of 500 pieces, right? But it comes from China. So her product cost, I think she was selling them for $25. And now they're going to go up to like $60 fucking dollars. Like, obviously that's not going to work. What are you talking about? Tons of small businesses are getting fucked. They don't have the capital. They don't have the peace count. They don't have existing relationships. They can't go rub elbows with Trump and get an exemption. Like, they're just getting fucked. And a lot of them, again, can't make their there's just not a factory here. There's not the investment here. There's not as much shit going through here. Like, they can't keep up with minimum orders or building the molds or having to retool an entire plant. They just can't do it. Trump says, I'd have to look at individual businesses. This will never work. There's probably 100,000 businesses on TikTok that are complaining right now, we won't make it once our inventory's gone. I can't even buy the inventory that's at the fucking port, or I can't put in a new order because I can't afford the tariffs. You're telling me you're going to go through those one by one? You're Trump. You, the president, are going to go through these hundreds, the ones that I know of on TikTok, 100,000 businesses? No fucking way. Would you consider it? Trump. Our country is going to be very rich in not a long period of time. I've been doing this for 3 months, and if you look at the kind of numbers that we're taking in and the jobs, and if you look at more importantly, the companies, the chip companies, the car companies, the Apple, $500 billion. Apple is investing $500 billion in building plants. They never invested in this country. Tim Apple. Small businesses are worried that you're treating the Apples of the world better than you're treating them. Trump. No, I'm treating small businesses. Small businesses will be a bigger beneficiary of what I'm doing than the large businesses. But everybody's going to benefit. Reporter. If we still have high tariffs, whether it's 20% or 30% or 50% on foreign imports a year from now, will you consider that a victory? Total victory. Yeah, they're just filling them full of shit till they do their thing, if any of it's even true. Why so? Why would you consider that a total victory? Because the country will be making a fortune. Look, that's what China did to us. They charge us 100%. If you look at India charges 100 to 150%. If you look at Brazil, if you look at many, many countries, they charge. That's how they survive. That's how they got rich. Everybody's always talking about how rich Brazil is. Now, zero would be easy. Zero would be easy. But zero, you wouldn't have any companies coming in. They're coming in because they don't want to pay the tariffs. Remember this. There are no tariffs if they make their product here. There are no tariffs if they make their product here. There are no tariffs. This is a tremendous success. You just don't know it yet. But this is a tremendous success, what's happening. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars, money that we never took in before. We're also, very importantly, because of that, because of the money we're taking in, those companies are going to come back and they're going to make their product here. They're going to go back into North Carolina and start making furniture again. They've already started. In Mexico, many car plants that were under construction have just stopped. They're all coming into this country. You're going to see car plants going at a level that you've never seen before. If we can't afford a car, what's it matter? Your trade advisor. I'm also chips. Look at Jensen. The reporter said, your trade advisor, and Trump said, I'm also chips. Look at Jensen. So the reporter says, NVIDIA? And Trump says, he's going to spend $500 billion. Look at Mr. Wee from Taiwan. The reporter says, do you trust them when they say that? These businesses who say, oh, I'm going to spend $500 billion. Trump. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you why I trust them. First of all, I think they're trustworthy people. But more importantly, they have no choice because they won't be able to pay the tariffs if they don't do it. The tariffs are bringing in the business. Remember, with all the, questions you're asking about tariffs, there are no tariffs when you make your products here. Again, NVIDIA, the Intel and AMD making chips, like computer chips, they're the only companies. Right? Intel a little bit. and AMD. They're not paying the tariffs, okay? Businesses, which by far is like enthusiasts make computers, obviously, but businesses by far are their market. The corporate businesses and servers and data centers and blah, blah, blah. Those data centers are going to have to pay it regardless. Even if they set up shop in Cuba, they're still going to have to fucking pay the tariffs if they get them. Like, he's such an idiot. The reporter says, sure, no, I understand, Mr. President. Trump says, 0. The reporter says, your trade advisor, Peter Navarro, says 90 deals in 90 days is possible. We're now 13 days into the point from when you lifted the discounted reciprocal tariffs. There's 0 deals so far. Why is that? No, there's many deals. When are they going to be announced? You have to understand, I'm dealing with all the companies, very friendly countries. We're meeting with China. We're doing fine with everybody, but ultimately, I've made all the deals. Not one has been announced yet. When are you going to announce them? I've made 200 deals. Not one has been announced yet. When are you going to announce them? I've made 200 deals. You've made 200 deals? 100%. Can you share with whom? Because the deal is a deal that I choose. View it differently. We are a department store, and we set the price. I meet with the companies, and then I set a fair price, what I consider to be a fair price, and they can pay it. Or they don't have to pay it. They don't have to do business with the United States, but I set a tariff on countries. Some have been horrible to us. Some have been okay. Nobody's been great. Nobody's been great. Everybody took advantage of us. What I'm doing is I will, at a certain point in the not too distant future, I will set a fair price of tariffs for different countries. These are countries, some of them have made hundreds of billions of dollars, and some of them have made just a lot of money. Very few of them have made nothing because the United States was being ripped off by almost every country in the world, in the entire world. So I will set a price, and when I set the price, and I will set it fairly according to the statistics and according to everything else. For instance, do they have a VAT system in play? Do they charge us tariffs? How much are they charging us? How much have they been charging us? Many, many different factors, right? How are we being treated by that country? And then I will set a tariff. Are we paying for their military? You know, as an example, we have Korea. We pay billions of dollars for the military. Japan, billions for those and others. But that, I'm going to keep us a separate item. The paying of the military, Germany, we have 50,000 soldiers. The reporter says, I'm just curious why you don't announce these deals that you've solidified. Trump, I would say over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and we're finished, by the way. You're finished? We will be finished. Oh, you will be finished in 3 to 4 weeks. I'll be finished. Now, some countries may come back and ask for an adjustment, and I'll consider that. But I'll basically be, with great knowledge, setting, ready? We're a department store. A giant department store, the biggest department store in history. Everybody wants to come in and take from us. They're going to come in and they're going to pay a price for taking our treasure, for taking our jobs, for doing all these things. Let me ask you a question. Which department store punishes customers for shopping there? What the fuck is this analogy? Which department store charges at the door? And while you're shopping, they say, no, you've not been treating me very nice. I'm raising the price 120%. This is not a department store, and Trump doesn't own the department store. This is a country. He doesn't understand that trade deficit isn't going to be like, how do you expect? Let's say there's a tiny island nation with a few 100,000 people on it, and we buy all of our vanilla bean from there. Okay, and they have 200,000 people live there, and we buy all of the vanilla bean from this country. Okay? And they buy all their stuff from us. How would we ever expect it to be dollar for dollar, 1-to-1? There's only 100,000 people or 200,000 people that live there. What the fuck are you talking about? Bangladesh. Do you ever expect Bangladesh? If we buy $1 million worth of shit from Bangladesh, you expect them to buy $1 million of shit from us? What are they going to do? Fucking start stacking shit up? Trade deficits are so fucking dumb. Even when you figure it out per capita, like Canada, when you take Canada's trade deficit and figure it out per capita, every American's buying about $1,000 worth of Canadian goods. Every Canadian's buying about $7,000 worth of U.S. goods. Technically, we're in a trade surplus per capita. They just don't have that many people. Anyways, they're going to come in and they're going to pay a price for taking our treasure, for taking our jobs, for doing all of these things. But what I'm doing with these tariffs is people are coming in and they're building at levels you've never seen before. In the department store, we have $7 trillion of new plants, factories, and other things, investment coming into the United States. And if you look back at past presidents, nobody was anywhere near that. And that is in 3 months. I just want to read this again. He said that they've done 200 deals. Okay? And the person said, are you sure? And they said 100%. Then he talks about setting fair price and being in a department store. And they said, I'm just curious, why don't you announce the deals? And he says, I would say over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're finished. And we're finished, by the way. And they said, oh, you're finished? And he said, we will be finished. And then they said, okay, you will be finished in 3 to 4 weeks. And he says, I'll be finished. Now, some countries may come back and ask for adjustment, and I'll consider that. But I'll basically be, with great knowledge, setting, ready? We're a department store, a giant department store, the biggest department store in history. Everybody wants to come in and take from us. They're going to come in and they're going to pay a price for taking our treasure, for taking our jobs, for doing all these things. But what I'm doing with the tariffs is people are coming in and they're building at levels you've never seen before. We have $7 trillion of new plants, factories, and other things, investment coming into the United States. And if you look back at past presidents, nobody was anywhere near that. And this is in 3 months. Dude, I was still in my phase of like Obama's the Antichrist, the way I was raised and the people I was raised around and shit. I was not allowed to like Obama. I would kill another human being to have Obama back in the White House. Or at least just to hear him do all the presidential addresses. Even if Donald Trump's still the president, if Obama could just take what Donald Trump wants to say and like orate it to us, if he could just be talking, that'd be great. I can't do this anymore. It's like arguing with a child who has all the power in the world. Imagine if they took my son Ollie, who I love very dearly, and made him a god. I'd be pissed, right? He makes crazy decisions sometimes. He says stupid shit sometimes. I can't understand him half the time. I love Ollie to death, but he shouldn't be omnipotent, right? And have all the power in the world. The reporter says, will you call President Xi if he doesn't call you? No, you won't. Nope. Has he called you yet? Yep. When did he call you? He called, and I don't think that's a sign of weakness on his behalf. but you would think it's a sign of weakness if you called him. I don't. I just look. Well, what did he say? If people want to, well, we all want to make deals, but I am this giant store. It's giant, beautiful store, and everybody wants to go shopping there. And on behalf of the American people, I own the store. I set the prices. And I'll say, if you want to shop here, this is what you have to pay. I could literally imagine Oliver saying this when he says, I'm going to open a store and we're going to play pretend like I own Walmart. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you make money? Well, I'll charge you at the door. This period of uncertainty will be over in 3 to 4 weeks. I don't think there's any uncertainty there. The only thing, they have an option. They don't have to shop here. They can go someplace else. But there aren't too many places they can go. You understand what I mean, though? Sure. Your Treasury Secretary says this situation with China is unsustainable. Trump. Oh, I agree. You mean the way it is now? Yes. Or the way it was before I got here. The current moment, too, he believes is unsustainable. Well, no. They won't do any business here because that at 145%, it's going to be very rare that you see business. I think in Trump's head, he thinks that Xi Jinping calls up a factory in the United States and says, I'm begging you to take these purses. I'm begging you to take them. And the factory's like, I don't know, 145% tariff. That's pretty bad for you. And they're like, please take these purses. We have nowhere to send them. Take them now. And the guy's like, I don't know. You better pay those tariffs. China just exists, okay? And they sell to everybody. And if American companies want to buy from China, they're going to have to pay the tariff. China isn't paying it. China isn't fucking sweating it. They'll just sell to other people. It is a real article, and it's depressing. But your conversations with Xi, that you just said you had, have made you feel like we're moving towards a more productive... Oh, there's a number at which they'll feel comfortable. Yeah. But you can't let them make $1 trillion from us. You can't let them make $750 billion. See? That's really what's not sustainable when China makes $1 trillion or $1.1 trillion when we have almost $2 trillion worth of, I call it loss. Some people don't, but a lot of it's loss. I say when you had a trade deficit of $2 trillion, I consider that loss. Let's say I have a farmer's market and all I sell is corn. And you come by and you have a family of 4 and your extended family of another 10 people that live beside you, right? Aunts, uncles, mom, dad, sister, and her kids. And all I do is sell you corn. And I sell you a fucking ton of corn. Now, I'm single and live by myself. What would be the point of me selling you 400 ears of corn and then you making me buy 400 ears of corn from you as well? Or let's say you make milk and I live by myself. Let's say I sell you 400 ears of corn a year and you come back and tell me that I have to buy 400 gallons of milk from you. And I'm like, I live by myself. I don't drink milk. I don't like cereal. I drink maybe a glass a month. And you're like, no. If I buy 400 ears of corn off you, you have to buy 400 gallons of milk off me. Trade deficits don't work this way. Again, we should just be glad that people are buying shit from us when they can probably get it cheaper and way, way cheaper in other places. And we are a consumer-based market. We're going to buy all kinds of stupid shit that we probably don't need, that we could probably do without, that is probably cheap junk made somewhere else, but we just buy shit. That's what Americans do. We buy a lot of shit. We can expect every country in the world to match us dollar for dollar to get rid of the trade deficit. It's so dumb. Mr. President, imagine going, let's say you spend $1,000 a month at groceries at Walmart. And the next time you go to Walmart to buy $1,000 worth of groceries, they stop you in line and say, no, you've got to sell us $1,000 worth of something. How are you supposed to do business with Walmart? What are you going to sell them $1,000 worth of stuff for? Mr. President, there was a period of time on April 9th when the bond market was under extreme stress and there was a risk of financial crisis beyond what the plummeting stock market suggested. This is the real reason. He stopped the tariffs. Typically, stock market goes down, bond market goes up. Right? Bond market goes down when the stock market goes up. What happened was his tariffs went crazy. They were expecting to see a rally in the bond market, and it didn't happen. Mass sell-off started happening. And that can be a sign that we're getting ready to go into a complete free fall. Right? Recession, depression, horrible things are happening. So instantly, we're going to pause them for 90 days. Instantly it happened. Trump says, I wasn't worried. Reporter, what did your advisors tell you, though? You were in the Oval Office with Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick. What did they tell you to convince you to lift the reciprocal tariffs for the 90-day pause? They didn't tell me. I did that. What made you decide? It wasn't for that reason. It wasn't for the bond market? No, it wasn't for that reason. I'm doing that until we come up with the numbers that I want to come up with. I've met with a lot of countries. I've talked on the telephone. I don't even want them to come in. You said the bond market was getting the yips. The bond market was getting the yips, but I wasn't, because I know what we have. But I also know we won't have it for long if we allowed 4 more years of the gross incompetence. This thing was just running. It was running as a free spirit. This was the most incompetent president in history. Again, back to Biden did it. He's the one who put the tariffs on. He's the one who tanked the stock market and the bond market. I saw one of his motherfucking people in his admin saying, oh, the news has been all about how bad the stock market's doing this month, but it's almost back to where it was before, and I haven't seen anybody reporting how big a rally we're on. Excuse me, motherfucker? You did a thing to crash the stock market. Everybody said, stop doing that thing. You stopped doing that thing, and thank God the numbers started to come back. And we're supposed to thank you for undoing the shit that you did, that everybody told you not to do? In our last interview, Mr. President, you committed to complying with all Supreme Court orders. I said, what? That's just funny to me. You committed to complying with all Supreme Court orders. Yeah. I think Trump can read. Okay, let me be clear. I think Trump can read. I think he can look at words. He can sound them out. He can say those words verbally. And he knows what a lot of them mean. I don't think he can comprehend in real time. I don't think he reads in public because he's just sounding out the words. They go in and out of his mouth or in and out of his head, but he doesn't actually know what it means. And I really, really don't think that he can understand legalese which isn't weird. A lot of people can't, right? A lot of people can't. But I think that his advisors around him that are reading Supreme Court orders are lying to him. Listen to this next part. They're lying to him, and he's not even fact-checking it, and they're telling everybody else it's fake news, bullshit, liars, and he trusts them. Listen to this part. When you and I spoke last April, are you still committed to complying with all Supreme Court orders? Sure, I believe in the court system. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that you have to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that you have to bring back Kilmar Abrego Garcia. You haven't done so. Are you disobeying the Supreme Court? Well, that's not what my people told me. They didn't say it was. They said it was the 9-0 was something entirely different. Let me quote the ruling. The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador. Are you facilitating a release? I leave that to my lawyers. I give them no instructions. They feel that the order said something very much different from what you're saying. But I leave that to my lawyers. If they want, and that would be the Attorney General of the United States and the people that represent the country, I don't make that decision. And this is literally when he said, Stephen, what did that ruling say that we won 9-0? And Stephen's like, they ruled 9-0 that no judge can tell the president what to do in foreign relations, blah, blah. That's not what it said. That's not what it said. I don't think Trump can comprehend when he reads at all. That's why I know he can read a teleprompter, right, for a speech. But when he starts going off on tangents that have nothing to do with what the teleprompter just said, that's because he can't comprehend, right? He can't comprehend what's going on. Have you asked President Bukele to return him? I haven't. He said he wouldn't. Did you ask him? But I haven't asked him positively, but he said he wouldn't. But if you hasn't asked him, then how are you facilitating his release? Well, because I haven't been asked to ask him by my attorneys. Nobody asked me to ask him that question except for you. Do you believe he deserves his day in court? I believe that they made him look like a saint. And no, I want to clarify this. He could be an axe-murdering serial killer that only targets orphans and their orphan puppies. It doesn't matter. You weren't allowed to send him there. You shouldn't be sending anybody straight to prison. And they get a chance to argue their fucking case. If he comes back and they challenge the withholding, order withholding from removal, get it out of there, prove he's an MS-13 gang member and he's a danger to society and he's still subject to deportation, good. That's the way the system works. But arbitrarily labeling all these people are gang members by, and they don't even get to argue that they're not fucking gang members, is bullshit. And they could do the same thing to me or you. 100%. I believe they made him look like a saint. And then we found out about him. Well, wouldn't you have found out about him before you deported him, right? He wasn't a saint. He was MS-13. He was a wife beater, and he had a lot of things that were very bad. You know, very, very bad. When I first heard of the situation, I was not happy. And then I found out that he was a person who was an MS-13 member. And in fact, he had a tattooed right on his, I'm sure you saw that. He had it tattooed right on his knuckles, MS-13. No, I believe he, by the way, he doesn't. Right? They gave him that Photoshop thing that had a pot leaf, a smiley face, a cross, and a skull. And then somebody had put MS-13 above that, and he shows it and says, look, he's got it tattooed right on him. That was Photoshopped. No, I believe he's a man who has got quite a past. That is no longer just a nice, wonderful man from Maryland, which the fake news had me and other people for a period of time believing. Now, nobody believes that. And I think this is a very bad. I think this is another woman sports thing for the Democrats. Maybe, Mr. President, whatever he might have done, whoever he might have been affiliated with, doesn't he deserve his day in court? Nazi saboteurs who came on our shores at Montauk during World War II had their day in court. Al-Qaeda terrorists have their day in court. I really give that to my lawyers to determine. That's why I have them. That's not my determination. It's something that, frankly, bringing him back and retrying him wouldn't bother me, but I leave that up to my lawyer. You could bring him back and retry him. That's exactly right. You could fix this simply by bringing him back and going through the legal process. But I leave that decision to the lawyers. At this moment, they just don't want to do that. They say we're in total compliance with the Supreme Court. Did you think that he was going to disobey the Supreme Court and be like, fuck the Supreme Court? Of course not. He's going to disobey the Supreme Court and pretend like he's complying with the Supreme Court until someone forces his fucking hand. I saw that image. It was a really bad job. Yes. Hold on. He does not have MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. This is what Trump held up. Right here. And he just said it in this interview. He thinks this is real. Look how bad the job is of photoshopping. This is what he really has. He has a pot leaf, a smiley face, and some people said, oh, pot leaf is marijuana, so that's M. Smiley face is S, so that's 13 or S. But this is a Christian cross, and this is a skull. Christian cross is not 1, and skull is not 3. These are the tattoos he had on his fingers. Now, you can look up every fucking law enforcement branch and ask them. They have common gang tattoos and shit. None of them have this listed as the signature hand tattoo for MS-13 at all. They might have skulls listed or pot plants but this is not like the calling card for MS-13. This just isn't it. This is an edited photo. And it literally says, Kilmar Abrego Garcia MS-13 tattoo. And this was on Twitter. They printed this from Twitter, guys. From Twitter. Someone put the MS-13 on Twitter and said, I've decoded it. I think it was in Benny Johnson's I think it was Benny Johnson shared this image from the, this image and another image from the meeting with the congressperson that went down there to see him first. And said, that's a nice tattoo. And someone said, I broke the code. Here it is. M stands for marijuana. S stands for, or smiley face stands for S, whatever. And Trump ran with this doctored photo and put it up. And people repeat this. When I'm arguing with people online, they're like, well, he has MS-13 tattooed right on his knuckles. No, he doesn't. Anyways, what about the lower courts? Are you committed to complying with the lower courts? Sure, all courts. One more question on this, sir. You took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. The Constitution says the Supreme Court is the ultimate authority once they issue a ruling. If you defy them, are you violating your oath? I'm not defying the Supreme Court. I never defy the Supreme Court. I wouldn't do that. I'm a big believer in the Supreme Court and have a lot of respect for the justices. You asked President Bukele of El Salvador to build out the CCOT prison to house American citizens. You said you would love to send homegrown criminals there. No, I didn't say that. I said if it were permissible, according to the law, I would like to do that, yes. So how is that a no? You said you would love to send homegrown criminals there. No, I didn't. I said if the law will allow me, I would love to send criminals there. Well, do you intend to send American citizens to foreign prisons? To foreign prisons? It says foreign persons, but that's got to be a typo. I would love to do that if it were permissible by law. We're looking into that. When I have a person, these would be extreme cases. When I have a person that is a 28-time in and out person that goes out and tries to kill people every time he or she is out, where are these people? I would have no problem with doing that whatsoever. We're talking about career criminals that are horrible people that we house and we have to take care of for 50 years while they suffer because they killed people. If you ask me whether or not I would do that, I would, but totally. And I think you have to leave this part of the sentence totally subject to it being allowed under the law. And people are looking in to see if it would be allowed under the law. We have crime rates under Biden that went through the roof, and we have to bring those rates down. And unfortunately, those rates have been added to by the illegal immigrants that he allowed into this country. Which Americans would you do that to? I would do that to people that hit old ladies over the head with a baseball bat. For people that grab their bicycle. You saw that one where they dragged an old woman along the street on a motorcycle, a motorcycle, I think. People that push people into subway trains just before the train is ready to stop. You saw that? The man barely lived. Think of it. And a guy comes up to him, and from behind, he pushes him. That's serious. Serious thing. People that shoot people in the back. People that are executioners. Yeah, I would have no trouble with that, but subject to it being allowed by the law. Do you really want there to be gulags for American citizens in foreign countries? Gulag. You define gulag. Prisons like in the Soviet Union. Look, I see where you're coming from the moment this interview started, and it's fine. I don't mind. I've answered every question that can be answered by mankind or womankind, and I see where you're coming from. Rapid fire. You can't even wait for me to give you the answer. You should let me give that final answer. Go ahead, sir. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just saying, I see where you're coming from, and you're just so wrong. You're so wrong. These are people that have been in jail for 20 times. They're career criminals. Do I have a problem with career criminals that hits people with baseball bats when they're not looking, that pushes people into subways, that shoots people in the face or in the back? I have absolutely no problem with doing that if the law allows it to be done and we're looking at it. And one of the reasons I like it is because it would be much less expensive than our prison system, and I think it would actually be a greater deterrence. Sir, on that note, how much are we paying President Bukele for holding those prisoners? Bukele? Am I saying it wrong? I don't know. I could give you the information, but we're paying less than we would normally. He doesn't even fucking know. He doesn't even fucking know. Did you personally approve those payments? No, I did not. No, I didn't. How can he even allocate money? Right? Wouldn't Congress have to allocate that money? How is he paying this guy? Many of the Jan 6 prisoners you pardoned pleaded guilty to or were convicted of violent crimes as part of the Capitol attack. Days before you pardoned them, J.D. Vance said, of course, you wouldn't include those who committed violence. What changed? What changed where? At what moment did you decide to include all of the defendants, including the ones who committed violent offenses? Because I've watched in Portland, and I've watched in Seattle, and I've watched in Minneapolis. By the way, they used to claim that none of the violent offenders got pardoned. They just said that for days until there was enough evidence so they couldn't deny it anymore. Because I've watched in Portland, and I've watched in Seattle, and I've watched in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and other places, people do heinous acts. Heinous, I think is the way it's pronounced. Shout out to the pathetic patriot. Heinous acts, far more serious than what took place on Jan 6. and nothing happened to these people. Nothing. And I said, what a double standard it is. And we were talking about a very small group of people that are in your definition. Most of these people should have been let out a long time ago. There's never been a group of people, maybe with one exception, I won't even go into it, one exception as a group, but there's never been a group of people that's been treated so horribly as the J6 people. You know, when I say peacefully and patriotically, nobody mentions that. When I say go peacefully and patriotically, nobody ever mentions that. Nobody mentions the fact that the Unselect Committee of political scum, the Unselect Committee, horrible people, they destroyed all evidence. They burned it. They got rid of it. They destroyed it. And they deleted all evidence. And we went in looking for evidence, and they said, I'm sorry, we don't have it anymore. It's been destroyed. If I ever did that, it would be unthinkable what you two guys would be doing and writing. But, you know, and nobody wants to talk about it, and you won't write about it, and nobody writes about it. It's unbelievable, right? But people get it. I mean, people get it. They get what I'm saying, and they obviously believe it because I had a hell of an election. The question was, why did you pardon the violent people after you said the violent people weren't going to be pardoned? I had a hell of an election. You campaigned on it and you won decisively. No. And everything I campaigned, if you think of, you know, the way you asked me these questions, like, it's so serious that we're moving people out of the country. I said during the election that I'm going to move them out of the country, and that's what we're doing. Can you talk a little bit about the budget? Yeah. And if we didn't do it, then you two would not be safe. I guarantee it. What? Yeah, he did say peacefully and patriotically once. And everybody else that spoke that day, including him, thousands of times said, you got to fight like hell. They're going to take your country. We got to stop them. We got to fight. We got to fight. We got to fight. Like, it was just insane. But he wants that one quote. Just like when he was defending the fucking Nazis. And he said one time, I'm not talking about the Nazis, but the rest of the time, he's like, yo, wonderful people. They were great. And these people just love history. While they were marching up and down carrying tiki torches, chanting, the Jews will not replace us. Can you talk a little bit about the budget? Yeah, and if we didn't do it, then you two would not be safe. I guarantee it. Some Republicans are considering raising taxes on millionaires in the package you're planning to pass that would extend your 2017 tax cuts. Do you support that idea? Well, I'll tell you, I certainly don't mind having a tax increase. And the only reason I wouldn't support it is because I saw Bush where he said, read my lips, and he lost an election. He would have lost it anyways, but he lost an election. He got beat up pretty bad, or pretty good. I would be honored to pay more, but I don't want to be in a position where we lose an election because I was generous. But me, as a rich person, would not mind paying, and you know, we're talking about very little. We're talking about 1 point. It doesn't make that much difference, and yet I could just see somebody trying to bring that up as a subject, and you know, say, oh, he raised taxes. You don't have another election to worry about. Oh, he raised taxes. Well, I wouldn't be, really, you know, in the true sense, I wouldn't. I'd be raising them on wealthy to take care of the middle class, and I love that. I actually love the concept, but I don't want it to be used against me politically because I've seen people lose elections for less, especially with the fake news. What? What election do you have to worry about, you stupid fuck? Do you think it would help cover the cost that would be lost from getting rid of taxes on tips and some of these other proposals? Well, that would be able to take it see that would be able to do it, but I would not mind personally paying more, but the concept is something that may not be acceptable to the public. Yes, so much of the lower class is real worried about you raising tax on the ultra wealthy. I can tell you, I can't even sleep at night over it. Experts estimate that the House Republican budget will result in more than $800 billion in losses to Medicaid over the next 10 years. Do you support that? Due to what? The House Republican budget that would cut roughly $800 billion from Medicaid. I don't think they're going to cut $800 billion. They're going to look at waste, fraud, and abuse. So would you veto a bill if it had cuts to Medicaid? If it was an increase, if we were deducting something from, I would, but it's waste. It's fraud and abuse is what we're looking for, and nobody minds that. If Republicans send you a bill that cuts Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, you commit to vetoing it. If it cuts it, I would not approve. He won't say the words. So you would veto that. I would veto it. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. They are. You cannot get $800 billion without touching Medicare and Medicaid. You just can't do it. All the other programs under that committee are only $200 billion. If you cut every dime out of every other program. Would you support a ban on congressional stock trading? Well, I watched Nancy Pelosi get rich through insider trading, insider information. And I would be okay with it. If they send that to me, I would do it. You'll sign it? Absolutely. The FTC is currently trying Meta for maintaining a legal monopoly by acquiring Instagram and WhatsApp. Do you think more companies need to be broken up? It depends on the company, depends on the market, depends on what the company does. But I think that a lot of companies certainly have been looked at during the Obama and during the Biden regime, certainly. Do you think corporate monopolies have hurt average Americans? In some cases, yeah. In some cases, not. I'd like to ask you some questions about Doge. You put Elon Musk in charge of this cost-cutting operation. The question is, why is the government, through Doge, amassing the sensitive personal information about everyday Americans, which was previously stored across different agencies all in one place? Doge has been a very big success. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of waste, lie, fraud, lie, and abuse, lie. Billions of dollars being given to politicians, single politicians based on the environment. It's a scam. It's illegal. In my opinion, so much of the stuff that we found. But I think Doge has been a big success from that standpoint. An aide interrupts the interview for President Trump to take a phone call from Indian Prime Minister Modi. So if we could just come back to the question before the call, which is the database that Doge is putting together, Americans' information. Why are they doing that? Because we want to find waste, fraud, and abuse and want to cut our costs. Some officials have described what Doge is doing is creating a central kind of God mode view into government databases that has been, up until now, intentionally kept separate. The idea, they say, is to basically use the information to advance your policy goals. Is this an accurate characterization? No, that's inaccurate, as you know. I mean, it's a crazy question. We just want to find fraud, abuse. We want to find who's on the rolls that shouldn't be, who's getting paid every month by the government that shouldn't be paid. Do these people exist? In many cases, they don't. In some cases, even worse, they do. They've been getting money and they shouldn't be. What does your administration plan to do with the information obtained by the IRS and other agencies as part of the Doge effort? Well, I don't know about the IRS because, as you know, I'm not involved in it, but we found tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. Tremendous. Will any of it be used to track down and round up migrants as part of the deportation operation? Not that I know of, no. Sure. Let's talk about the cuts. As you know, Mr. President, a lot of American companies do business with the government. The Doge cuts aren't just affecting government employees, they're also affecting American businesses that provide goods and services to the federal government. There are nearly 280,000 layoffs in March across virtually every sector. Why is it better for these people to be out of jobs? Because we have to have an efficient country. And when the country gets down to bare knuckles, you're going to see something the likes of which this world has never seen before. We're going to make our country strong, powerful, and very rich again. Right now, our country is not sustainable. We're being ripped off by everybody in the world. Other countries, other people, other militaries are ripping us off. We're protecting countries for no money or for very minimal money, and that wasn't supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be protecting everybody. We're supposed to be, number one, taking care of ourselves, and number two, helping people when we can. Helping outside people and outside countries where we can. But we've been ripped off by levels that you've never seen. European Union sounds nice, but they've been very tough. $300 billion loss. China, hundreds of billions of dollars in losses. And I can go through a list, but I don't want to because there are many friendly countries. Our friendly countries, in many cases, are worse than our enemies. And it's not a sustainable model. It's not a sustainable possibility even that a country can go through that and Biden let it get to a level that is seriously dangerous. This is about American companies losing business due to cuts by Doge, by the way. Well, many Americans certainly agree with you that they want to get rid of government fraud, waste, and abuse. They want to shrink the federal. It's not only government. It's deals. It's horrible deals that have been made with other countries. As an example, China has been ripping us off for many years until I came along. I upped tariffs on China, hundreds of billions of dollars. We've done hundreds of billions, hundreds. But domestically, for instance, your administration blocked grants for the National Institutes of Health that funded research into infectious diseases, cancers, Alzheimer's. Well, maybe we didn't think they were right, you know? I mean, you look at people, look at the money that was given away by others. We didn't get anything out of it. Well, what do you tell the families and people who are suffering for those diseases? We're taking care of. We're spending a lot. I spent 58. We spent, let's see, I think 58 billion in the first term. We were spending tremendous amounts of money, and I am now, but they have to be a little bit careful. A lot of the money, like Stacey Abrams got $2 billion on the environment. They had $100 in the account, and she got $2 billion just before these people left and had to do with something that she knows nothing about. NIH is the world's largest funder of cancer research. Shouldn't they be asking those questions? I could give you a list of abuse and waste and fraud, and you don't have any interest in hearing it. I mean, I just see by these questions, just wondering, with all the bad things that have happened, with all the things we found out, you have no interest in those things. You only have an interest. See, what about this? What about that? Our country is going to be strong again because of what we're doing. And this is not a sustainable model. Not a sustainable model. What we're looking at, and I think, very importantly, I had a great election, won all 7 swing states, won millions and millions of votes, won millions of votes. They say it was the most consequential election in 129 years. I don't know if that's right, but it's certainly a big win. And that's despite cheating that took place, by the way, because there was plenty of cheating that took place. In 24? 24, yeah, 20, of course, but 24 also. They tried that. They did their best. It's the only thing they're good at. But we're going to have a great country again. Just remember, every single question you're asking, I campaigned on it. I campaigned on all the things you're talking about, all the things you're asking about, and openly campaigned. And we're given credit, even by radical left lunatics. We are given credit for that. We are given credit for saying, this is what I'm going to do. And if you look at your question, that's what I campaigned on. Following that call, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the role you're playing on the world stage. And I think that you campaigned on that too. It's interesting because you see the relationship. I didn't want to wait, have you leave the room, but you see the relationship. I have that relationship with many leaders. If I can stop losing 3,000 human beings a week on average with Russia, Ukraine, it's only because of me. Nobody else could have stopped it. I think we're going to do that. By the way, I think that'll be done. I think that we're going to make a deal with Iran. I think we're going to make a deal with Iran. Nobody else could do that. You said you would end the war in Ukraine on day one. Well, I said that figuratively, and I said that as an exaggeration because to make a point. And, it gets, of course, by the fake news, unintelligible, Obviously, people know that when I said that, it was said in jest. But it was also said that it will be ended. So he's now just admitting to the lie. Well, what's taking so long? When do you think it'll be ended? Well, I don't think it's long. I mean, look, I got here 3 months ago. The war has been going on for 3 years. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president. It's Biden's war. It's not my war. I have nothing to do with it. I would have never had this war. This war would have never happened. Putin would have never done it. This war would have never happened. October 6th would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. Would have never happened, ever. You then say, what's taking so long? Do you hear this, Steve? The war has been raging for 3 years. I just got here, and you say, what's taking so long? Well, you said you'd have it done in 24 hours. Do you think peace is still possible if Putin is president? I think peace is possible. You say if Putin is still president? Yeah, if Putin is president, can there be peace if Putin is president of Russia? I think with me as president, there's possible, if very probable. If someone else is president, no chance. Nothing happened on October 6th. If Putin can make peace, yeah, I think Putin will. I think Putin would rather do it a different way. I think he'd rather go and take the whole thing. And I think that's because of me. I believe I'm the only one that can get this thing negotiated. And I think we're a long way. We've had very good talks, and we're getting very close to a deal. And I don't believe anybody else could have made that deal. Do you believe peace is possible if Zelensky is still president of Ukraine? Yeah, I do. He is president now, and I think we're going to make a deal. Should Ukraine give up any hopes of ever joining NATO? I don't think they'll ever be able to join NATO. I think that's been, from day one, I think what caused the war to start was when they started talking about joining NATO. If that were brought up, there would have been a much better chance that it wouldn't have started if that weren't brought up. Should Crimea go to Russia? Should they get to keep Crimea? Well, Crimea went to the Russians. It was handed to them by Barack Hussein Obama and not by me. With that being said, will they be able to get it back? They've had their Russians. They've had their submarines there for a long before any period that we're talking about. For many years. The people speak largely Russian in Crimea, but this was given by Obama. This wasn't given by Trump. Would it have been taken from me like it was taken from Obama? No, it wouldn't have happened. Crimea, if I were president, it would have not been taken. Would it be acceptable to you in a deal if Crimea and the 4 other regions that Russia has taken from Ukraine would be folded into Russia under a final accommodation? If Crimea will stay with Russia, we have to only talk about Crimea because that's the one that always gets mentioned. Crimea will stay with Russia, and Zelensky understands that, and everybody understands that. It's been with them for a long time. It's been with them long before Trump came along. Again, this is Obama's war. This is a war that should have never happened. I call it the war that should have never happened. You've talked about improving relations. He didn't even answer the other 4 regions. You've talked about improving relations with Moscow. Are you pursuing negotiations with them on other issues other than Ukraine? No. Like nuclear weapon stockpiles or testings. But if a deal has happened, I can see us doing business with Ukraine and with Russia as a country. You talked about acquiring Greenland, taking control of the Panama Canal, and making Canada a 51st state. Maybe you're trolling a little bit on that one. I don't know. Actually, no, I'm not. Well, do you want to grow the American empire? Well, it depends. As an empire, it wasn't. These are not things that we had before. So I'd view it a little bit differently. If we had the right opportunity, yeah, I think Greenland would be very well off I think it's important for us for national security and even in international security. I think Canada, what you said that one I might be trolling, but I'm really not trolling. Canada is an interesting case. We lose 200 to 250 billion a year supporting Canada. Nope. Almost all of that's crude we buy from Canada because we get it so cheap. And I asked a man who I called Governor Trudeau, I said, why? Why do you think we're losing so much money supporting you? Do you think that's right? Do you think it's appropriate for another country to make it possible for a country to sustain? And he was unable to give me an answer. But it costs us over $200 billion a year to take care of Canada. We're taking care of their military. We're taking care of every aspect of their lives. And we don't need them to make cars for us. In fact, we don't want them to make cars for us. We want to make our own cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything from Canada. And I say the only way this thing really works for Canada is to become a state. Stephen Chung says, we're coming up on time, about 10 minutes. Okay, we'll move quickly then. Last note, do you want to be remembered as a president who expanded American territory? Wouldn't mind. One question on the cuts. You made cuts to Homeland Security, Cyber Defense, the Nuclear Security Administration. Your FBI chief is pushing to shift the Bureau from domestic intelligence to criminal investigations. These are programs that were set up after September 11th to prevent terrorist attacks. Are you worried that this could be making America more vulnerable to an attack? No, America will be much stronger. If we are attacked, do you risk being blamed for letting down our defenses? What does that mean? If we're subject to attack, do you risk being blamed because of these cuts? I think I'll be blamed no matter what. I think if I make the country unbelievably successful, which is not new, we owe $36 trillion, which is not now. I'm sorry. We owe $36 trillion, right? It's, when you think about it, a lot of money, but no. I think I'll be blamed whether it's successful or not. I'm used to it. You might be right about that. UNICEF says that more than 300 children have been killed and more than 600 have been wounded since the ceasefire in Gaza broke down. Who is to blame for those deaths? I would say that the blame for that is Biden more than anybody else because as you know, Iran was broke and he allowed them to become rich. More than Hamas? There was no money for Hamas. There was no money for Hezbollah. There was no money. Iran was broke under Trump, and you know that. He knows that. Broke. They had no money, and they told Hamas, we're not giving you any money. But Biden came in, and he took off all the sanctions. He let China and everybody else buy all that oil. Iran developed $300 billion in cash over a 4-year period. They started funding terror again, including Hamas. Hamas is out of business. Hezbollah was out of business. Iran had no money under me. I blame the Biden administration because they allowed Iran to get back into the game without working a deal. You've begun direct talks with Iran. Are you open to meeting with Iran's president or supreme leader? Sure. You reportedly stopped Israel from attacking Iran's nuclear site. That's not right. It's not right? No, it's not right. I didn't stop them, but I didn't make it comfortable for them because I think we can make a deal without an attack. I hope we can. It's possible we'll have to attack because Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. But I didn't make it comfortable for them. But I didn't say no. Ultimately, I was going to leave that choice to them. But I said I would much prefer a deal than bombs being dropped. Are you worried that Netanyahu will drag you into a war? No. Let's talk about some of the issues with universities. By the way, he may go into a war, but we're not getting dragged in. The U.S. will stay out of it if Israel goes into it. No, I didn't say that. You asked me if he dragged me in, like I'd go unwillingly. No, I may go in very willingly if he can't get a deal. If we can't get a deal. If we don't make a deal, I'll be leading the pack. You're planning your first major foreign trip for your second term to the Middle East next month. What are the last hurdles for Saudi-Israeli normalization? Well, what I want, and the reason I'm doing it, is because Saudi Arabia, I happen to like the people very much, and the Crown Prince and the King, I like all of them, but they've agreed to invest $1 trillion in our economy, $1 trillion. I'm then going to Qatar, and I'm going to the UAE, and then I'm coming back, and then we're making another. I think our foreign policy has been incredible, and it was before, and it is now. You sort of got a little glimpse of it. Are you closer to Saudi-Israeli normalization? He has the same question like 4 times to get an answer. Are you closer to Saudi-Israeli normalization deal than you were before? I have very good relationship in the Middle East, and I think all over the world. I think it's, well, the smarter people understand. I have stopped. I have solved more problems in the world without asking for or getting credit. This would be a big one. Which one? The Saudi-Israeli normalization. You had the Abraham Accords, one of your, historic accomplishments. Unfortunately, they did nothing. They did nothing with the Abraham Accords. We had 4 countries in there. It was all set. We could have had it packed. Now we're going to start it again. The Abraham Accords is a tremendous success, but Biden just sat with it. Could you build on it to get the Saudi-Israel normalization deal? Well, I'll tell you what. I think Saudi Arabia will go into the Abraham Accords. Yeah? Yeah, and by the way, I think it will be full very quickly. It will be a big deal if that happens. They did nothing. Oh, that will happen. That would be a big accomplishment. The State Department said it has revoked 300 student visas, primarily because of their participation in campus protests. I wanted to ask you about this, Mr. President, because you emphasized free speech as a cornerstone of your campaign. You castigated efforts to suppress it. But now it looks like your administration is deporting hundreds of people for engaging in speech you don't like. Why? Tremendous anti-Semitism at every one of those rallies. Tremendous. And I agree with free speech, but not riots all over every college in America. Tremendous anti-Semitism going on in this country. Are you worried that you're intimidating students or chilling free speech in American campuses and elsewhere throughout the country? No, they can protest, but they can't destroy the schools like they did with Columbia and others. Let's talk about one case. Are you familiar with the case of the Tufts University student, Rainessa Ozturk, who was arrested by a group of plainclothes officers? Well, she has since been accused by your government of having ties to Hamas. They have not revealed any evidence. Would you direct your Department of Justice to disclose the evidence that she is connected to Hamas? I would have no trouble with it. No, I'll look into it. But I'm not aware of that particular event. You were harshly critical of what you called the weaponization of the justice system under Biden. You recently signed memos. Well, sure, but you wouldn't be if this were Biden. Well, first of all, he wouldn't do an interview because he was grossly incompetent. We spoke to him last year, Mr. President. Huh? We spoke to him a year ago. How did he do? You can read the interview yourself. Not too good. I did read the interview. He didn't even know about it. And he's like, I did read it. He didn't do good. He didn't do well. He didn't do well at all. He didn't do well at anything. And he cut that interview off to being a matter of minutes. And you weren't asking him questions like you're asking me. Well, we appreciate that you're able and willing to answer these questions. It says something about you, Mr. President. This is like doing an interview with Phil, right? You have to let him go. You can't cut him off. You can't challenge him too much because he'll just run out, right? I am indeed. I've been answering them for years, and I've been getting elected by bigger and bigger numbers all that time. But you didn't ask questions like this to Biden, because if you did, he would have crawled under this beautiful desk. You recently signed memos calling for an investigation into Chris Krebs, a top cybersecurity office official in your first term. Isn't that, so he was the head of CISA. Isn't that, though, what you accused Biden of doing? I think Chris Krebs was a disgrace to our country. I think he was. I think he was terrible. By the way, I don't know him. I don't think I ever met him. I probably saw him around. I have people come in like the other one. He came in and he's on CNN all the time as like an expert on Trump. I have no idea who he is. And Chris Krebs, the same thing. I guess he probably said he knows me, but I have no idea. And oftentimes I'll have some people sitting right here, and behind them will be 10, 15 people from their agency or office, and they'll stand there. And then all of a sudden I'll hear like, they're all-time experts in me. I know very little bit about Chris Krebs, but I think he was deficient. He was very deficient. Deficient. I don't know why I kept trying to say deficit. Deficient. He was very deficient. So he's the one who said this was the most secure election in U.S. history in 2020, right? He was the head of CISA. You've used threats and lawsuits and other forms of coercion. Well, I've got to be doing something right because I've had a lot of law firms give me a lot of money. If you take anything from this, the man just said you've used threats and lawsuits and coercion against your enemies. And he said, well, I'm doing something right because they've given me a lot of money. That's extortion. That's what the mob does when they make you pay on protection money to leave your business alone. That's extortion. And he just admitted to it. Why is that an appropriate use of presidential power? Well, I think it is because I think they felt that the election was rigged and stolen and they didn't want to be part of it. You think they gave me $100 million each for nothing? You know, these law firms gave me $100 million worth of work, etc., and other things. And do you think they gave me that because I'm a nice guy? I don't think so. They gave it to me because they knew what they did wrong and they didn't want to get involved with it. And that's okay. That's the way it works, unfortunately. No. If they did something wrong, like you allege, they should be investigated and prosecuted. Nobody should be able to do anything wrong and pay you $100 million and get off scot-free. They're doing it because they know that you can destroy their fucking business before the courts have time to step in and save them. But he just says the quiet part out loud, dude. He don't give a fuck. They did something illegal. I told them I was going to make their life hell, so they paid me $100 million so I'd leave them alone. Yeah, that's called extortion. Even if they did something illegal, that's still extortion. But that is an appropriate use of presidential power, you think? Which is? The threats and the EOs against law firms. They pay these are top firms in the world. These are the biggest, the best. The Kravitz, the Milbank, Tweed, Paul Weiss. These are the toughest, smartest firms. They don't do this unless there's a little problem or a big problem. Isn't cutting a deal with them to remove a threat from you and to do pro bono work for causes you like just a form of extortion? I don't think it was a threat. I think they did that because I assume they did it because they felt they did something wrong. Otherwise, we would have had a lawsuit. You once said you weren't sure how the Civil Rights Act, quote, worked out. Would America be better without it? I never heard of that. Nobody's ever asked me that before. You said it in a 2020 interview. I don't remember having said that. Chung says, we have time for one more question. When we spoke to you a year ago, we asked you whether you would challenge the 22nd Amendment, which limits presidents to 2 terms. You said, and I quote, I'm going to serve 1 term. I'm going to do a great job, and I'm going to leave. What changed? Well, I'm serving 2 terms now. You meant 1 in addition to the 1 you already served? You mean 1 more? I have more people begging me to run again, but I haven't looked at even the possibility. But the only thing that's changed is they think I'm doing a great job, and they like the way I'm running the country. They've had a border, which you didn't ask about, that's virtually totally closed. The best border we've ever had. Border crossings are down substantially. No, I mean, it's really, people can't believe it. They interviewed some farmers, really beautiful people that lived on the other side. They were being drawn into fights and horror shows. And now, I mean, it was dangerous. One of them got very badly injured and by an illegal immigrant that came across. And they asked him, how is it now? He said, thank God for Donald Trump. It's the best it's ever been. And I've lived here for 50 years. You recently said you were not joking about seeking a 3rd term and that there were methods to do it. What methods? I'd rather not discuss that now. But as you know, there are some loopholes that have been discussed that are well known. But I don't believe in loopholes. I don't believe in using loopholes. You wouldn't run as vice president for J.D. Vance? I don't know anything about what. Look, all I can say is this. I'm being inundated with requests. I'm doing a good job. Great physical exam. And unlike every other president, I took the cognitive test and I aced it 100%. And I bet you guys couldn't get 100% on that exam. It's a tough exam. You know, when you get into the mid questions, it gets to be pretty tricky and pretty tough. And the last questions are very tough. And I aced it. And I guarantee you, I'd make a big, beautiful bet that you guys couldn't ace it. But anyways, look, it's good to have you. It's a very nasty interview. They don't ask any of the good things. One final question, Mr. President. you were showing us the new paintings you have behind us. You put all these new portraits. One of them includes John Adams. John Adams said, "We're a government ruled by laws, not by men." Do you agree with that? John Adams said that? Where was the painting? It's right here. We're a government ruled by laws, not by men. Well, I think we're a government ruled by law, but you know, somebody has to administer the law. So therefore men, certainly men and women, certainly play into a role. I wouldn't agree 100%. We are the government where men are involved in the process of law, and ideally, you're going to have honest men like me. Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate your time. Thank you. How fucking wild, dude. By the way, John Adams, if I'm not mistaken, John Adams is the one. So when the Boston Massacre happened and the British soldiers shot the Americans, and it was obviously they didn't deserve it. They kind of shot from the hip too quick and killed a bunch of Americans in the build up to the revolution. John Adams is the one that fought for those British soldiers to have due process when they wanted to fucking string them up and hang them and kill them and kick off the... He fought by himself. Everybody else disagreed with him. I can't believe Trump, of all people, would have John fucking Adams stood up and said, no, they deserve due process the same as any other fucking person does. We've got to give them without due process, then we're nothing. We don't have a country. And Donald Trump is deporting motherfuckers just by saying, you're in a gang, you're in a gang, you're in a gang. Bye. Go to prison forever. See you later. All right, guys. This is a wild fucking interview. There is a lot of good content here. I can't wait to make TikTok videos out of it. Thank you for ever reminding me of it. It's a good video. I got to go. It's late. It's already almost 2 a.m. here. Thank you guys for joining us. Please consider supporting the show. We could use your support right now. It's a tough time. I know it's a tough time for everybody. But if you got the extra cash, go to coldbeer.fund. Consider supporting the show. That's how we pay the bills around here. And right now, it's really not paying for itself. But we'll get back on it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all, and I'll be back tomorrow. Love you. See you. Bye. Oh, that was something. Thank you for the gifted subs. I appreciate that. Right at the end, but still, they'll work for next time. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag has
5 gifted subs. I appreciate it.
show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
I don't...
Okay, Scott.
Is this your first time here? Thank you for the gifted subs, though. I do really appreciate it. That Donald Trump interview is wild. Wild.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord.
Oh, no, it says you've been following for a while. I just didn't remember the name. Here and there, man. I'm a fan and want to support the truth, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. I see you. I've been following since the 8th. Thank you.
I'm gonna make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
I think I'm gonna do more TikToks on my town too. I did one the other day about how they basically ran off a multi-million-dollar investment for a higher end cabin style resort because the resort was all inclusive, meaning like your food and your laundry. They had a bar. Everything's included in the resort. You don't have to leave the resort. And the local MAGA retards here thought that all inclusive meant homosexual LGBTQ sex parties for some reason. And no matter how many people told them like all inclusive means everything's included in the resort, they thought it meant diversity inclusion. I don't know what the fuck they thought it meant, but it was wild. I made a TikTok on that. I'm gonna make some more.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
wait. Stop. What?
I have to live in this fucking red hellhole. I might as well make some content out of it, I guess.
Come on, seriously. This Livon's an alcoholic. Oh, give me a. Oh my god. Damn it.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3.
Yeah, I understand.
Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting.
I don't really. I scroll TikTok too much, just mindlessly scrolling through. But that's just where people are right now. Like, I really need to build my audience. I had a lot. So over the last couple years, really since the 2020 election, I've left Trump and basically come to the left just through research and figuring out I've been lied to my entire life, and Trump trying to overthrow the election. But what happened was I used to have, a few hundred people watching me every night, and I drove off all the Trump supporters, which I don't miss them. Like, they're fucking idiots, but it just doesn't support itself the way it used to. I don't make the money that I used to pay for everything. So I'm kind of in a bind over that. So I need new people. So I'm going to keep trying. At least on TikTok. It seems to be a lot of people there, and it's easier to have something pop off and go viral there.
You don't have those guts because you're a pussy. You're a pussy.
Have a good night, guys.
Aviator glasses in your mother's basement, and I won't even give out your dime store handle because that's